Welcome to the next part of your SpooliT demonstration. It is important to understand that at its core, SpooliT is a rules-based system. You can define any number of rules within the SpooliT system. There are selection rules. The what? There are categorization rules. The where. There are distribution rules. The who. There are automation rules. The when. It is important to think about how you want to structure your SpooliT archive. Most sites around the world choose to use a departmental structure. That is, create individual virtual categorization folders by department name, such as customer service, supply chain, warehousing, finance, manufacturing, HR, and so on. If you need to create a new categorization folder in SpooliT, then click on the My Archive node followed by a right mouse click. Click on the New option. Then click on Category Group option. Enter a descriptive name for your new virtual folder or category group such as a department name, customer service or some other meaningful grouping. After you have created your preferred organization structure, you can proceed to create your selection roles. Let's start by creating a new selection role. Remember that a selection role is the what. That is which type of report to select and process. We will start by creating a selection rule to process a specific spool file, report, from a specific output queue. To create a new selection rule, navigate to an output queue on your IBM iSeries or AS400. Then double-click on the report. The report is loaded into the preview window, at the bottom. Next, right-mouse click on your report. Select the Create a Rule option. The Define Selection Rules dialog is displayed. The spool file attributes, belonging to the report you selected earlier, are displayed to the left and are highlighted in yellow. If you retain all attributes, then this is a very specific selection rule. The report will only be processed by this selection rule where each and every attribute is a 100% match. If all spool file attributes are kept, then this selection rule is very specific. Meaning that all report attributes must match for this report to be selected for processing. If you wish to broaden the selection rule, you can remove certain attributes by deleting the attribute text. In this example, we have deleted the attribute text values for user, job, and forms type. The effect of this action is to broaden the selection rule, such that the report is chosen where the first 5 report attributes match the report. This is regardless of the last 3 attributes, namely, the user, jobs, and forms type attributes. If we want to further broaden the selection rule, we could also remove the user data attribute. Keeping in mind that the top 3 attributes cannot be removed. System, output queue, and library name are mandatory selection attributes. To the right-hand side of the pop-up dialog is the Existing Rules section. Next, you navigate to the categorization folder name where you wish to place this new selection rule into. In this example, we chose the Customer Service Categorization folder. A dialog appears for you to provide a name for your new selection role. Enter a meaningful descriptor here. Keep in mind that as you create more selection roles, you might end up with possibly hundreds of selection roles. A meaningful grouping such as customer service and meaningful name for your selection role will help you easily find your selection roles and categorization roles later. Next, press OK to continue. If you want to archive reports and store these securely into a SpooliT archive database for future retrieval and/or for compliance reasons, then the next section describes how to achieve this. The Categorization or Selection Rules dialog is displayed. The first tab is where you define your categorization rule preferences. If you plan to archive report data into this virtual folder, then specify your categorization rule options here. Here, you can define if this selection rule is also a categorization folder, meaning that if you decide to archive this IBM iSeries report, then it will be archived inside this virtual folder for future use. Note, you have the option to subcategorize folders by date if you wish. This will create subcategories by year, month and day for easy retrieval. Next, click on Rule by Attributes tab. Here you can review or edit your selection rule attributes. Click on each of the attribute tabs to review and load your selection rule attributes. Press the Add button. To load the system name, press the Add button. To load the output queue value, press the Add button. To load the OutQueue library name value, and so on, until your selection rules are completed. Once you are complete with selection rule attributes, just press the Apply button to save your work. If however you have a situation where your ERP produces many reports that are called QSysPrint, as an example, yet all these reports are completely different reports, then you cannot rely on external report attributes alone. You will possibly need to use internal report content to further enhance your selection rules. To do this, click on the Rules by Content tab. You can drag over the report content and capture values from inside the report. You can optionally capture the report name and/or the report title, or indeed any other meaningful identifying text that helps make this report unique. Next, drag over some report text. Then press the Click here to capture report name button. Optionally, then drag over some other report text. Then, press the Click here to capture report title button. In this example, we dragged the mouse over some report text. Then we press the Click here to capture report name button. In this example, we dragged the mouse over some additional report text. Then we press the Click here to capture report title. You don't necessarily need to perform both captures. In many cases, one capture is more than sufficient when using report content. If you need to distribute reports via email, then the next section describes the process in detail. If you need to define email recipients, you can do so here. However, please note that if you are planning to use this single selection rule to potentially drive multiple automation rules, it might make more sense to define your email recipients as part of the automation process where it is applicable, rather than here. We will cover automation rules in detail a little bit later. To define email recipients, click on the Email/Fax Distribution Rules tab. The left side of the screen displays the available email or fax recipients. The right side of the screen displays the recipient distribution list. Click on a recipient in the left list, then press the Add button to add to the distribution list. Double-clicking achieves the same outcome. Each recipient can have a default format, usually set to PDF. There is also a system-wide default, usually set to PDF. If you need to choose a different file format, then click in the recipient in the right side distribution list and make your next format selection. Note, in some instances you may prefer to email reports in multiple formats such as Excel plus PDF, for example. Once you are finished, press the Apply button to save your work. You can see that the new selection rule we just created correctly appears under the Customer Service Categorization folder as you specified. Once you have created your selection rule, it is highly recommended that you test the selection rule before you automate a rule. In fact, we would argue that an incorrect rule is worse than no rule at all. Therefore, make it a mandatory habit to always test all your selection rules as soon as you create them. To do this, using SpooliT, navigate to the report from your IBM iSeries output queue. Then, single-click on the report. Then press the Test Rule button from the toolbar, or right-mouse click and select Test Rule. A dialog will appear indicating a success or failure. If SpooliT Test Rule finds a match or indeed multiple matching selection rules, it will inform you in the dialog. If the SpooliT Test Rule does not find a matching selection rule, you will be informed. Where there is no matching selection rule, then you will need to edit the original selection rule and check your report attributes and/or report content rules to ensure they are correct. Next, we are going to demonstrate how to create a selection rule to process all reports from an IBM iSeries output queue. In the left side tree view, or File Explorer, scroll down until you locate your network node. Under the network node you will see one or multiple IBM iSeries systems and/or partitions. Under the IBM iSeries node, you will see the Printer Queues node. Double-click Printer Queues to refresh the list of current output queues on your iSeries. Next, double-click on an output queue to load your live spool files. Right-mouse-click on the output queue. Then, choose the Create a Rule option. The Define Selection Rules dialog appears. You will notice that only 3 report attributes are displayed, in yellow. System, Library, Output Queue. This is because you created a rule directly from an output queue. Select the correct category from the right side window. This indicates where this rule will live. Next, enter a meaningful description for this output queue level selection rule. Next, click on the Rules by Attributes tab. Review each of the 3 attributes. System, Library, Output Queue. Click on the Output Queue tab. For the output queue, press the Add button to load the selection. Click on the Library tab. For the library name, press the Add button to load the selection. Click on the System tab. For the system name, press the Add button to load the selection. Then press the Apply button to save your rule. The output queue level selection rule has been created, and now appears under the correct categorization folder. Next, we are going to introduce a concept called user alias. User alias in terms of distribution rules enables you to create rules without having to nominate email recipients. When users are set up, you link each user's email address to their IBM iSeries user profile. For example, user Daryl Summers at smx.com has a user profile called dsummers. If you enable user alias as part of your distribution rule, then SpooliT identifies that the report was created by dsummers. It then performs a lookup to obtain the email address for this user. Then, the report is emailed to the user who created it. If Daryl Summers leaves the organization, then there is no need to maintain the distribution rule to remove Daryl Summers and add the replacement team member, Mary Winters. To change a selection rule to utilize the user alias feature, locate your selection rule and then edit the rule. Next, click on the Email Fax Distribution Rules tab. Uncheck the Use Email from Recipient List checkbox. Select the User Alias checkbox. Select the correct file format to send, usually PDF by default. Press the Apply button to save your rule. In the next demo, we will explore how to automate the rules we have created so far. We hope your SpooliT learning journey continues during the next few demonstration chapters.